what does top tier pawn play actually look like? In these two clashes between Hikaru Nakamura and So Wesley, Nakamura shows how powerful simple pawn decisions can be. So let's look at the games. In this game, So Wesley has white pieces while Nakamura is black. So as it can be noticed, the material is equal. Nakamura has a pawn in the center. His knight is centralized as well. By the way, be careful, he cannot capture the pawn for free because bishop takes e5. The queen would also be under attack. So yeah, that's a blunder. So in this position, how should Nakamura try to make progress? Because in terms of his pieces, they are well placed. As I mentioned earlier, pawn is in the center as well. So what next? So in this position, he recognized one thing. The rook and the queen, his rook and So Wesley's queen, they are on the same file. And he wants to take advantage of it. So that's why he pushed the pawn to d4. So basically, if he takes d4 happens, then he has seen an idea that he would be able to take advantage of something because of the rook and the queen on the e file. So, but what if So Wesley does not capture the pawn? What if, say for example, he just moves the queen away to d2? So the problems are still not over for him because there would be knight e4, bringing another knight in the center. So what if, say for example, rook fe1, just bringing the rook there? So still, it would be a bit of a problematic thing because of this. And then if queen takes e3, then there is knight c4, and then there would be pressure on the king side as well as the queen side, and it would not be that comfortable for So Wesley. So for example, if you look at this, there is rook takes e1, rook takes e1, knight takes b2, queen takes b2, and now it's time to put pressure to the queen side as well. So if b4, then there would be c3, Nakamura would get an advanced pass pawn. So as it can be noticed, it's not that easy move to face. So in this position, So Wesley decided to accept the challenge. He's like, all right, I don't think you would be able to do something through this, so I'm just capturing the pawn. But of course, Nakamura had something in mind, so he played the move knight g6, basically putting pressure on the queen and putting pressure on the knight as well. So now, in this position, queen d2 was played by So Wesley. He is removing the queen from e2 and defending the knight. So then, Nakamura centralized the knight with a tempo. So knight e4, attacking the queen. Queen must go on a square to keep this knight defended. So then queen e3 was there, and here Nakamura found an extremely instructive move, a brilliant move in this position. If you want, you can even pause the video here and try to find what Nakamura played. So Nakamura played the move knight c3. So the point is that he's ready to give that knight to remove the queen from there, and then he can play knight takes f4. So why is that so important? We will see. And by the way, queen g3 or something like that is not that great because knight into f4, and then there will be knight e2 check, and that's just loss for So Wesley. So Wesley played queen takes c3, and then knight takes f4 was played. Now the problem is that there is knight e2 check as a threat, and of course the bigger threat, queen takes g2 mate. So knight c3 was that is something that changed the trajectory of the game completely. And then in this position, So Wesley played queen f3, the only move to not lose at least immediate material. So queen takes f3, g takes f3, and then Nakamura played the move c takes d4 because bishop takes d4 is not possible. There is knight e2 check, and now look at the position: pass pawn, active knight, bad pawn structure of white, and active rooks. So this is of course clearly better position for Nakamura to be in, and it all started with that important pawn move, that d4 move, and after that he outplayed So Wesley to get this position. Now So Wesley played rook fd1, Nakamura just pushed the pass pawn. Then in this position, as it normally happens when such pressure is there, then blunders happen. So the position was already difficult, and then So Wesley blundered with this bishop c1 because there is knight e2 check, king f1, and knight c3. and he will lose material, and then he resigned in this position. So an instructive pawn play demonstration by Nakamura. Now, before we look at the next game, once again, it will be between Nakamura and So Wesley. I want to invite you to visit chessneurons.com. It's a platform to develop your positional play. You will find many of such examples. You will be able to find daily detailed positional puzzles by grandmasters, and there will be weekly video as well. So, and each of the puzzle has detailed solution given by me. So please visit chessneurons.com and avail 7-day free trial. So let's go for the next game. So this position is, once again, as I mentioned earlier, from the game between Nakamura versus So Wesley. Nakamura has white pieces this time, and So Wesley is black. So that development for both the sides completed, and now Nakamura uses his central pawn by playing e5 to put pressure on So Wesley. So he wants to increase the pressure on the king side. Then So Wesley plays the move knight d5. He's centralizing the knight, but Nakamura is fine with that because he was planning to play e6, further increasing the pressure on the king side. Because if f takes e6, then queen takes e6. That would be too much for So Wesley to handle. So in this position, So Wesley played f6. He's like, all right, let me keep my king side safe. I don't want to get it open. But what has happened in process is that this bishop has gotten restricted, and Nakamura has definitely gotten some activity there. Now, Nakamura uses this pawn on e6. Now, you'd be wondering, how is that possible? How can he use his e6 pawn? Because for now it is blocked. Did he sacrifice the bishop or something like that to push the pass pawn? I mean, not so easy, because it's not like black will capture with this and allow e7, because there is knight takes f6, bishop takes f6. So what did Nakamura do with the e6 pawn? So he played the move bishop b2. So his plan was that he wants to attack this knight. Now say for example, if So Wesley had played bishop b7, now the problem in this position is there is queen d3. There is this, and then there is this as well, and there is the threat of knight e3. Because if knight takes e3, then the rook will go queen takes d8. So that was the plan of Nakamura. So then So Wesley was not going to allow that. So he played the move knight c7. He's like, all right, let me bring the knight back. And now Nakamura takes advantage of his pawn on e6 by playing the instructive move rook d7, bringing the rook on the 7th rank. So he is saying that, all right, if you want to get rid of my rook on the 7th rank, then you will have to allow me the pawn on the 7th rank. That will be dangerous, because let's say if rook takes d7, e takes d7, there is queen d8, then there will be bishop c6, and things are not looking that great for So Wesley. Even if he tries to do this, tries to eliminate this, it would still be not the end of the problems, because then there is queen e6. And say for example here, then there is queen c6, knight c7, there is bishop a3. It's just a matter of time before So Wesley's position would collapse. So that pawn on e6 did not just help Nakamura in restricting So Wesley's activity on the king side, but also in getting the rook on the 7th rank, rook d7. So then in this position, So Wesley decides to play king f8, and then here Nakamura plays a brilliant move, rook takes e7. So he's ready to sacrifice the rook because he knows that So Wesley's king is very weak. Of course, the main point is if king takes e7, then there is bishop a3 check. If king e8, then there is bishop c6 check. The game is over actually. So then b5 was played by So Wesley. Nakamura just played rook d7. Now he is threatening e7 check. So Wesley played this. Then he captured the knight. But yeah, this is just was bishop a3 check. Because if king f7, then there is queen e7 check. And then this queen. And king g8 was played. Nakamura played queen e7 regardless, because yeah, he's able to queen the next one. And then So Wesley resigned. So really instructive 2 games by Nakamura on how accurate pawn play can help you in outplaying your opponent. Thanks everyone for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.